Tuesday Cafe, and I'm Patricia Alonso, guest hosting for Sean, who'll be back next week. If you would like to call in, our number is 813-239-9663 or email us at dj@wmnf.org. Today's show, I'm going to focus on two issues plaguing our community. We are going to have two great guests in studio, and the first issue that we will be discussing is food insecurity. A lot of people hear this term and may wonder, what is food insecurity? So I'll give you a brief little definition of what our Department of Agriculture terms food insecurity. It is the limited or uncertain availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods, or a limited or uncertain ability to acquire, basically where to purchase, or the fact that we do not have access to that. Currently, that's an issue that has been brought to the attention of our state legislators, and we currently have a bill, which is House Bill 89, that is being supported by State Representative Michelle Rayner, and from St. Pete, a Democrat, and State Representative Fina McFarland, a Republican. From Sarasota. They are working bipartisanly to pass this bill with the goal of reducing food insecurity and allowing more grocery stores in our areas of need. Could you believe that there's areas that don't have a Publix, they don't have a Walmart, a Kroger, they don't have a Winn-Dixie, where basically we can purchase food? So really, I wanted to have in our studio a guest to discuss how are they targeting those issues and those communities that are underserved and are experiencing food insecurities. And just to give you a little statistics, in Hillsborough County, we have over 204,000 individuals food insecure. Pasco County, 60,000 plus. Pinellas County, 102,000 plus. And in Polk County, over 80,000, giving us roughly over 500,000 people in our nearing counties that are food insecure. This morning, I have Mr. James Dunbar, the VP of Outreach and Prevention and Community Partnership at Metropolitan Ministries, that's joining us to have a discussion about food insecurity and how Metropolitan Ministry is supporting those communities. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dunbar, or James. How are you this morning?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Patricia. Doing wonderful this morning, and excited to be here with you and to address this topic, to bring awareness to what some of the struggles in our community are, and then how we are working with our partners and across our counties to help alleviate some of this struggle for many families, seniors, veterans that are working through their self-sufficiency path and struggling with food security.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Before answering a couple of those questions, I know that we at a national level are seeing some changes when it comes to funding and things like that. Is Metropolitan Ministry in any way impacted by some of those changes that can potentially then impact the community that relies on those resources? Is there any insecurity, to use that term very lightly, in the services that are going to be provided by Metro Ministry in the future?
So we are very blessed to be highly supported by individuals, foundations, families across the Tampa Bay community. So we do have some federal funding that we're navigating the path like many other organizations like ours. Most of those are not going to overlap with our food programming.
Excellent.
But in general, most of our funding, a large portion of it is very discretionary and given to us from local individuals and families and municipalities that are on the ground and see our daily work. And how we have the ability to reach out and help people locally and not really using federal dollars. So we do have a little bit of exposure, but unlike a lot of our peer organizations around the area and around the state that have significant exposure, we are in a position that regardless of what's happening on the federal level, we're going to be able to continue to serve our local communities.
That is wonderful to hear, because I know there's a lot of angst, to say the least, across the country when it comes to funding cuts. Tell me a little bit, James, how Metropolitan Ministry is truly addressing food insecurity in our counties. And as we look, as I mentioned some of the statistics of 500,000 people within these 4 counties being impacted, how are you serving that number of people and the ones that have yet to be counted that are food insecure?
Absolutely. So within the numbers that you used, those are the most at risk, but many of us are definitely feeling the impacts of higher food costs, and then the waves of things that come through, like egg prices, and which are unplannable. You can't plan your life really around a bunch of unknowns like that. So how Metropolitan Ministries focuses on working with families, seniors, individuals that are dealing with food insecurity is through a couple different paths.
Okay.
So probably the most recognizable will be through our family support centers and our metro markets. Okay. Our metro markets are our way of saying food pantries, but we set them up and to be a shopping atmosphere. So families coming through shop for what it is that their families not just need, but then also have the ability to pick. I'll just use vegetables for an example. If your kids don't like peas, you're not just given peas. You can choose corn or carrots or whatever your vegetable of choice is, which within our mission really focuses on the dignity standpoint.
I love that.
Where, it's we've learned a lot of lessons through the years, and really highlighting dignity really sets us apart and brings us to the top of our class through our metro markets. And with that, we have family support centers that have these markets in Hillsborough, in Pasco, and then sub-sites that operate across our different regions. And they're all set up in a pantry-style model.
What regions, I'm sorry to butt in, do you cover, just because you mentioned them a couple of times? What regions?
Absolutely. So in Hillsborough County, we have our primary facility that's in Tampa Heights, just north of downtown.
Okay.
Then we operate out of the Thaddeus Bullard Sly Prosperity Center in the Sly community. Then we partner with Feeding Tampa Bay out of their resource center, where they do the food portion, and we are one of many other partners offering our wraparound services there. Then in Pasco County, we have our food markets in Holiday, Newport Richey area. And then on the polar opposite side of the county, I know Pasco is a very long county to drive across, is our property in our family support center in the Dade City community. In Pinellas, we operate a lot more mobily. So we have community mobile teams that are operating in zip codes that have 35% or high childhood poverty rate. And they do a lot of individual community-based targeting to provide food boxes and food resources on a one-on-one navigation level versus an open walk-in community center. So the family support centers are our market-based approach, and they're designed for any family, individual struggling that has a place where they can store and cook the food appropriately. So if you have a kitchen and your power's on and you can cook and take in frozen and fresh produce and it stores appropriately, anybody can shop in these spaces. And another approach that we do is our meal site program. So our meal site program is for those that don't have the ability to store and cook food. These are those that are currently experiencing homelessness or living in a vehicle or doubled up, and they can stay the night, but they can't come. They can't stay in a family or friend's house during the day. And our meal sites, that we have 43 of them across our Tri-County area, and within the meal sites are kitchens. We have one in Pinellas, one in Pasco, and one in Hillsborough that cook hot meals. And we partner with organizations that come and pick up the food and serve it almost restaurant style across our different areas. So we have a very high bar of the types of facilities and properties. It's a lot of civic groups and faith groups that really want to offer that service level, where many of the families and individuals that go to these sites don't have the ability in the moment to go to a restaurant and be served. So we want them to be able to come in, sit down, operating restrooms, hand washing, and be able to be served to and talked to and have a meal presented to you at our meal sites. That particular program, we make about 3 to 4, every week's a little different, 3 to 4,000 meals a week that go to our partner sites across our different communities. Some serve every day, some serve every other week, a lunch. So that schedule is all on our website under the meal site programs there. And those are open to anybody. You can be a senior that's on fixed income. You can be currently experiencing homelessness in a place not meant for habitation, or you can just be behind and not being able to buy groceries this week, and you're welcome to visit those properties.
Excellent. And for how many years has Metropolitan Ministry been serving the community? How long has it been an institution or a pillar of this community? And I think one of my favorite things as someone that has gone and volunteered many a times at Metropolitan Ministry is the dignity component. And I love every time you come, they always tell you, it doesn't matter what car they're in. It doesn't matter if they don't have one. It doesn't matter how well they're dressed. It's about giving them dignity and allowing them to shop. That feeling of being at a grocery store, even though what is being given to what you are shopping for is being given to you, making you feel like you are not in dire straits, that you are not begging for something, but you're actually taking ownership of your experience and doing this. So tell me a little bit about that. And also, to receive services, do you have to apply or do you just show up?
Absolutely. So it's a couple different questions. I'll try to roll into a composite answer. So Metropolitan Ministries has been, time flies. It feels like just last year we were doing our 50th anniversary, but I believe we're on 53 years now. 1972 is when Metropolitan Ministries started. And it started off, as a soup kitchen, a soup bank, which was a partnership of 13 churches in the downtown Tampa area. And all these churches were doing their own thing in the early 1970s, and they pooled together to form Metropolitan Ministries. And it continued as that for many, many years. And then Metropolitan Ministries saw the need for sheltering in the early 80s and through the 80s into the 90s, transitioned to not just be the soup kitchen, but then also a rehab facility. And as our communities change and the neighborhoods change, what the need is changes. And one of the reasons I love Metropolitan Ministry so much is we're very strategically focused, looking at not just what the need is now, but projecting out where needs are going. And then the needs in that area, we're moving towards family shelters, lots of families that were experiencing homelessness with minor children. So that is where our shelter programs are focused now. And that need through our partnerships with the school systems is only being validated year over year with the amount of homeless children in the school system that we partner with to go through our family sheltered and case management programs. But then on the flip side of that is really our community based. So our campuses are designed around shelters and family programming. Our community focused programming is available for anybody that is struggling, that is not in one of our shelter programs. So that would be our food markets, that's our meal sites, that's our prevention programs where we help individuals, families, seniors across multiple different funding opportunities that are at risk of becoming homelessness or at risk of not being able to pay a grocery bill, that we can help with rents, mortgages, and utilities as funding cycles change and ebb and flow there.
Excellent. And when you're looking at the population that you're serving, one of the things that I've read and I know is that highest level of food insecurity is with children as well as with our senior citizen population. Is that something that Metropolitan Ministries is seeing flow through their doors, whether it's in the community partnership and focus program, in their hot kitchens, which, by the way, I had the pleasure of working during the hurricanes at one of the local churches and supporting them and cooking some food. And then here comes Metropolitan Ministry with thousands of meals that are hot and are substantial that we can feed to the community. So it's wonderful to actually have lived that experience and know that you are walking the walk. So thank you for that. But what are you seeing? Are you still seeing that in all of these programs where the highest food insecure communities are children and senior citizen, or has that demographic changed?
It really depends on where we are serving.
Got it.
I'll put this out there, where our average household size that shops in our markets is between 3 and 4 members in a household. So most of the time, these households have children in their home, or at least dependents in their home. But then other sites that are in predominantly senior communities, it's a lower percentage per household, but these seniors need more recurring help when you're on a fixed income. So we do see a cross-section there. Now, we intentionally target a lot of our programming into areas where childhood poverty is at higher rates.
Yes.
So with that being the fact, we definitely serve a lot more children and families that have children in their homes in those areas.
I noticed that you mentioned where there's higher poverty. One of the things that I was looking at is that some of the areas with higher poverty in our communities are, for example, the CDC area or the university area, East Tampa, and some of the are unincorporated areas. Is that true for the services that Metropolitan Ministry is providing?
Yeah, so it's the ones that you mentioned in Hillsborough. We have a program called Neighbor Hope, and Neighbor Hope really has individualized navigators and case managers tied to these zip codes. So many of the ones you just mentioned in 33601, 05, and 19 are that corridor that you just talked about. And our SLY Center and our partnership at Feeding Tampa Bay land in 2 of those 3 zip codes. And then the ones that don't definitely have a mobile navigators, and their roles are to navigate those that are struggling, to be informed of the resources that are available around them. And then north of that in the city of Tampa and into Temple Terrace area, the CDCs that you talked about, we have many, many meal sites. That's where a lot of our meal site programming is in that particular area.
Excellent. And James, how long have you been with Metropolitan Ministries? And definitely, I know you have a very large title and all that, but I know that definitely the nitty-gritty of the work that you're doing is definitely not just the title. So tell us a little bit how long you've been with Metropolitan Ministry and what role do you play, or are you a jack of all trades? I know in nonprofit sectors and environments we have a title, but we do a little bit of everything. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I have been with Metropolitan Ministries for 13 years, or yes, in August hit 13 years. Time flies.
It does.
I started I want to say a solid portion of our staff, I know on my team it's the same way, that started either as interns or seasonals that came on to work during our holiday programming. And personally, never thought this was a trajectory I was working towards. When I was working on my master's in strategic planning is when I did my seasonal, and I have not left. It's every day is a different challenge. Every day brings the ability to really think critically and devise plans and strategies to meet the needs of what's walking through our doors every day. And every day it's a little bit different, and everyone has a different need.
Yes.
So very blessed and honored to be in this position. Within my roles, as I mentioned earlier, Metro if I were to simplify the probably 70 programs we do into 2 basic tenets. There's our residential case managed programs, and then there's our community focused programs. I'm blessed to get to oversee most of the community focused, and that's through our centers, that's through our prevention programming, that's through our meal sites. And then we haven't really hit on the holidays and special events and emergency response, which is a whole nother realm of food impact areas that I'm blessed to oversee those teams that are so amazing at what they do there.
Excellent. And roughly how many people does Metropolitan Ministry serve on an annual basis? I mean, I know monthly is one thing, but annually, how impactful is Metropolitan Ministry in our community? We talked about 500,000 people roughly being food insecure as of 2025. I mean, a month and a half in, 2 months into the year. How many people does Metro Ministry cover annually?
So I'm going to put it in a couple different realms. So
please.
We about 3.5 million meals, and food is only a portion of our overall programming. And with the holidays, with our year-round services, with about 60 to 70,000 individual households. And as I said earlier, households average about 3 to 4 individuals in them. So you extrapolate that out, you're at 250,000 people that are impacted through our year-round services. Many of those do come through our holiday programming. This year we helped 34,000 households all that received food programming. And then for the Christmas, all the children received toys that are registered across all of our different areas as well.
Excellent. And what is the goals for Metropolitan Ministries into 2025, 2026? What are the forecasts? Because as we know, food insecurity is growing nationally. The cost, inflation is up. The cost of groceries are up. And then we have areas that you don't even have access to purchasing food. What are the goals or the focus of Metropolitan Ministry into 25, 26? As you very well mentioned, the future projections.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of amazing projects going on right now. For 2026, Hillsborough has been our previous major growth areas. So Hillsborough, we're just working to refine and get better in the programming that we're at. In Pasco, we have a massive and amazing new facility under construction that the final part of it is supposed to come online in the next couple months.
And in what area of the county?
That is in Holiday, Newport Richey area.
Wonderful.
And that is a redeveloped, rebuilt family support center, which is serving way more community-based families. We have doubled the size of our residential shelter program, and I believe it's 50 or 60, so it's maybe in between there, shelter units. And then for the first time in this area, bringing on the educational Head Start and adult education programming, which is tied into the shelter there. So that program, or the buildings, will be done, and over the next couple months should be fully staffed and operational. Wonderful. But really, going into the summer and the second half of the year, I believe this press release came out a week or 2 weeks ago, where we are moving into Pinellas. Yes. We already have tons of teams. I have multiple team members, and our other programs do, that are operating in Pinellas, but very mobilely based. And we are partnering with the St. Pete Free Clinic to bring our shelter programming to the downtown St. Pete area. And I believe it's going to be 30 to 40 shelter units, but bringing our lessons learned and our programming across our shelter programs that have been in Pasco and been in Hillsborough to Pinellas. So between West Pasco and St. Pete and Pinellas, significant growth and change and development across Metropolitan Ministries.
That's wonderful. And what I love to hear is the fact that not only are you targeting food insecurity, but also homelessness issues, things that are overlapping and that are both creating the situations that we are seeing. My question to you is, how do we as a community support Metropolitan Ministry, and how does the community that need resources access them? Absolutely.
So as we mentioned earlier on when you asked the question about concerns around federal funding, I did mention that we are very blessed, and it's only through the trust of the community, the Tampa Bay community, that we've earned over the last 53 years, that we are almost primarily solely funded through donors. So for those that are interested in helping support the food insecurity topic we talked about, but then also supporting seniors through our senior programming, and then for those that are adults and experiencing homelessness in our shelter programs, you can go to metromin.org, metromin.org, and there's right on the front the opportunity to either in kind or financially help support these programs. And if you are in need of assistance, that same website, metromin.org, lists all of our different locations that we have our family support centers. And then under Get Help is very targeted towards different types of help that we have available, and the strategies and methods to apply and to go after receiving that type of help.
Excellent. And sadly, as we very well know, there are individuals that don't have access to internet or access to a computer or anything like that. Those individuals like that, how do they access your services?
So off the top of my head, this number will be fine for any county you're in. Each county does have their own number, but this one, she can route you, our individuals can route you to the appropriate areas, but it would be 813-209-1000. So 813-209-1000 is our main call line, and then they will direct you towards your appropriate county if you're not in Hillsborough County.
Excellent. And James, what is the last thought you would like to leave us with about the issue of food insecurity, even homelessness, that really overlaps with that community before we wrap up, in reference to what Metropolitan Ministry is doing?
Yeah, so really just like to put out there that many of us, especially in the elevated costs right now, are not that far away from those that we are serving. And many of the households that come through, we learn this especially through the holidays where we ask this question, is this your first time needing help? And it's some of the highest numbers that we've ever seen. And it's really around, you might have been very comfortable with 2 incomes, but when you go down to 1 income or reduced hours, you may still have your job, but any loss when you are already paycheck to paycheck really is most people in our communities. So those that are coming for services are a full spectrum of our entire community. So for that reason, we treat everybody the same and offer a cross spectrum of services for everyone coming through. So we're proud to be able to do that in a dignified way, but individually navigate individuals towards the resources, towards their own self-sufficiency journey.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much, James. It has truly been a pleasure to have you on today. For me, it's always been a pleasure to be able to serve and volunteer over at Metro Ministry and see the great work that you do. So thank you for your time today. Continue with the great work. And please feel free to reach out to us if we can ever be of service, or myself in particular. Thank you so much, James.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
For 45 years, WMNF has been more than a radio station. We've been a platform for community voices. We exist to inform, inspire, and empower, all with the goal of building a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world. And now, politicians are calling that un-American. They think WMNF, and by extension you, should be silenced. Well, we're not backing down. And right now, we need you standing right next to us. Make your voice heard by donating today. Let's keep speaking truth to power together. Call 813-239-9663 or go to the website WMNF.org. Do it now. Send a message right now. Give us the resources to continue to be that community voice, no matter which way the political winds blow.
You're listening to WMNF Tampa. This is Tuesday Cafe, and we're guest hosted today by Patricia Alonso, and she'll bring on her next guest in just a second. But first, I want to thank everyone who donated last week to Tuesday Cafe during our recent fund drive. Thanks to Miriam, Chuck, Francis, Daniel, Tim, David, Carol, Cheryl, Sarah, Gretchen, and Lenore. And I want to point out that next week on Tuesday Cafe, I'm going to interview author Jack Davis about his book on the Gulf of Mexico, about that historic and ecologically important Gulf of Mexico. So please stay tuned next Tuesday as well. Here's more of today's Tuesday Cafe, guest hosted by Patricia Alonso.
Thank you very much. And once again, I want to thank Mr. James Dunbar from Metropolitan Ministry for coming out and sharing a little bit about what the organization is doing to support our community. Now, I'd really want to welcome to the show today Lisa Demi. She's a board member for Post 9/11 Veterans. And we are going to be discussing sort of that reintegration of our military community into Hillsborough County and across the state as well. And that large veteran population that we have in Florida. And as we know, we are the largest military community in the country. Currently, we're seeing, challenges and cuts at a national level, and challenges our military is experiencing that are directly impacting soldiers, veterans, and the actual VA, which puts a little bit of pressure on nonprofit organizations like Post 9/11 Veterans to continue to provide services. Once again, a little bit of statistics for you all. Florida has 1.6 million veterans living here. Roughly 1 out of every 12 adults in the state of Florida is a veteran. Of those, 250,000 of them are disabled veterans, which is the third largest number nationally living in the state of Florida. And here in Tampa Bay alone, we have 80,000 veterans living, working, some of them struggling and others thriving. a little bit more perspective, Hillsborough has about 87,000 veterans, Pasco 46,000, Polk County has 54,000, and Pinellas has 69,000. So Lisa, I want to thank you for being in studio today, and also serving such a great organization like Post 9/11 Veterans. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's truly my pleasure. So Lisa, tell me a little bit about what is Post 9/11 Veterans and how you support our veteran community.
Well, first, I'd actually like to add a few numbers to what you just said.
Sure, go right ahead. I love a good statistic.
17 plus veterans commit suicide daily.
Yes.
40,000 plus veterans are homeless, and 284,000 are unemployed, plus are unemployed. And so this is our mission, to make those numbers smaller. And, when we first started Post 9/11 Veterans 10 years ago, we started it because military, the guys were coming back. The veterans are coming back from Iraq, from Afghanistan, and it was started 10 years ago by two veterans, Mark Wolfson and John Robinson. And that was their mission, was to give these guys a place to go, let them know they weren't forgotten. Mm-hmm. Now we don't have people coming back. Now they're still here. And these are the issues, these numbers that I just mentioned are the issues that are so important these days. And that's what we're trying to do, is make those numbers smaller. Our new mission is empowering veterans and strengthening communities, because we realize we cannot do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the veterans don't want a handout. They want to be able to
work for it.
Yeah, they want to contribute to their communities. So that's what we're doing today.
Excellent. And you mentioned sort of a shift in mission. Is that because, as you said, we don't have technically active war. We don't have soldiers that are out there. But we have a lot of individuals coming back home and feeling disconnected.
Correct.
And on top of that, having limited resources for them available. So how has the mission changed? And tell me a little bit about the programming and services that are accessible to our veterans.
Sure.
And even those that are still active.
Sure. So the mission has changed because, like I said, people, soldiers were coming back when they started this organization 10 years ago. And just for the record, a lot of people say, why is it only post 9/11 veterans? It's not just post 9/11 veterans.
That's my next question. Thanks for addressing it.
It's all veterans. The organization was started by some post 9/11 veterans because there was a segment that wasn't getting any attention. But we do serve all veterans. Now, veterans are not coming back. They're here. They're contributing to these numbers. They are sitting on their couch with nothing to do. They're depressed. They are, if you want someone to get a job done, you hire a veteran. They know how to make things happen. And just for the record, I am not a veteran. We are I'd say we're about 70-30. So 70% veterans, 30% civilians. And so what we're trying to do is, program-wise, you asked about programs, Patricia. We have several programs. We do community-based programs where we are, it's like we're going to be doing something probably at Feeding America. I believe we're going to be trying to do something for a kid's house for Halloween. But then we also have veterans, like our upcoming event. The next event we have is the Women's Veterans Appreciation Brunch. And that is to honor female veterans in the Tampa Bay area. It's all on us. They pay nothing. They get to come, have a great lunch, have maybe a couple mimosas, and hear really great speakers. We have we have Mayor Castor, and I believe Kathy Castor speaking. We have a message from Laurel Lee is going to be speaking. And this is just to create community for them, because there's all these holes in the community for veterans. And there are so many organizations that serve so many people, and we feel like, what can we do? They don't want a handout. They want help being integrated back in their communities. They want to give back to their communities. They just want someone to help connect them. So what we're doing is we're trying to supply resources or opportunities for them so that they can reach their fullest, and then they can be those community members if they want to be.
Excellent. You mentioned resources and holes. What are some of the resources that Post 9/11 Veterans is offering to our military community? Are there resources to support housing? I just talked with James about food insecurity. Right. Some individuals have mobility issues, accessing equipment. Our veterans are all across the spectrum in needs.
Right.
What are some of those resources and the holes that you mentioned that need to be plugged in?
The holes are, I think, some of the biggest holes are employment and mission. And we want to help them do whatever they need to get jobs, to get, learn how to fill out an application properly if they've never had that. Connect them to the people. A lot of members on our board are very well-connected people. And so what we try to do is put them in touch with whomever it is that we can. We don't offer everything, but because a lot of us are Floridians and Tampanians, we do try to do some stuff with them to get them in touch with the other people in the area. I would say that the resources are, we have, on our board, we have people across, we have older people, younger people. We have Latinos, we have LGBTQ, we have men, women, we have everything that you could ever imagine. And all of these people we're a volunteer board, 100%. Nobody gets paid anything, and we're there solely because we're passionate about making sure that veterans get what they need from their community that they've been supporting for all these years.
Right. And in terms of programs, any specific programs that the organization has that someone can access, consistently?
Sure.
Or what are some of the things that you are serving the community most in,
So we're actually rebranding and getting ready to do a bunch of stuff. Right now, what we do have is Granting Wishes Honoring Veterans, and that is a $9.11 recurring donation every month. And basically what that goes to is giving veterans, we call it's home, health, happiness. Those are the three pillars. And if it's something that affects them in any of those three ways, then that's something we'll consider. And much like when you were speaking to the gentleman at Metropolitan Ministries, we are 100% funded by sponsorship and donations. We don't have any kind of grant or anything like that. So everything we do is founded on that.
Excellent. And Lisa, we do have a question from someone via email, and she is reaching out to us and says, "Hello, I'm a veteran with a recent diagnosis of ALS. My disability claim has literally just been filed. Can you tell me what your thoughts are on veteran cuts for presumed disability diagnosis, such as ALS and potentially others? Please speak specifically to the current veteran cuts as well as fears and concern for future for those of us trying to apply for disability benefits through the VA. Thank you so much for your service for veterans and their families. God bless." Please, we will definitely not use your name. We'll keep that confidential. Don't worry about it. And thank you for the great question. And actually focusing on the issue of cuts at a national level to the VA.
We are not a political organization.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to take a political line on that. But I would say that anything that takes away from resources from veterans, obviously that's something that's a concern for us because we realize how hard it is already. And if you're talking about taking more resources and money away from them, then there's more work that we have to do. And on a side note myself, I know that it's definitely a challenge that is out there in the community right now because there are a lot of cuts that are happening, sadly, in the VA when it comes to nursing staff, medical care, funding, and things like that. That will definitely impact your services. The claim is something that definitely will be reviewed following those specific requirements. But I think that it is a solid one. But I also do know that those cuts to the VA might be challenging. So it's finding a good resource worker there and a good social worker in both areas to be able to support you through your walk through this. And I wish you all of the best. Thank you so much for reaching out to us and asking this question. And I know the organization is not political, but I do see that individuals that are supporting your organization run from both sides of the political spectrum. My question to you is, how do you leave that? Do you leave that outside of there? How are you able to support the mission of the organization without it becoming political because you're seeing people from both sides of the aisle that may not see eye to eye, even when it comes to serving our veterans, when the goal is the same and the mission is the same? That's a great question. We have a really diverse board. Like I said, we have LGBTQ, men, women, Republicans, Democrats, and I think the mission is that we're trying to help veterans. It's not we're trying to help us or trying to push forward our agendas. The bottom line is we want to do whatever we can to help veterans. And all of us have gone through something like your caller, the woman who reached out to you. We've used those services before, and we realize how crucial they are. So whatever we can do to make sure that veterans get whatever they need. So through our services, through our upcoming events, we're hoping to raise more money than ever because we realize this year is going to be a greater need for our veterans. And we want to be able to, whether it's to help them with paying for something that, financially, medically that they need, whether it is to, allow them to have a Christmas or a holiday with their kids. We want them to look like the heroes. We're not doing this for any credit. We want to make them have the best experience and have the best life that they can possibly have.
And the veterans that you are serving and that reach out to to post 9/11 veterans, are you seeing most of them having issues related to homelessness or issues related to maybe medical needy, medical equipment assistance, housing? What are some of the biggest job opportunities? What are some of the biggest issues that you are seeing? And also, how many veterans are you serving annually?
So I would say that the veterans, it's a great question. The veterans that we've worked with, they are very proud. They don't want to ask for, I can't pay my electric bill, or I can't finish school, or I can't.
How do you circumvent that?
Yeah, you have to let them know that they earned this. We are not giving them a handout. We are assisting them to reach their goal. And because we're veterans, they speak the same language. So it's not like they're talking to someone who hasn't gone through it, hasn't been there, done that. So veterans speak to veterans, and they feel comfortable sharing deeply with other veterans. As to how many veterans we've worked with or helped, I would say thousands of veterans and their families, because we do the toy drive at Christmas, we do a back to school. And that's just directly what we're doing. Indirectly, we're helping them by giving them another mission.
And what made you join this organization and become a board member, especially when you are not yourself a veteran?
Right.
Or what led you to that?
That's such a great question. So I am LGBTQ, and I am a Democrat, and I get that question a lot. And people are like, what are you doing? Well, I'll tell you what had me join the organization. I was introduced to John Robinson, who was one of the founders 10 years ago, and he was just such a charismatic guy, and the mission just spoke to me because I have a lot of veterans in my family. And I initially told him, I will do what I can help you. I have a marketing background. I will do what I can help you. Well, probably 3 months later, I was like, all right, I want to be on the board. Now I've been on the board for 10 years. It has become a family. It has become a passion project. When you get to see the looks on the faces of the people who we helped, that is better than any paycheck I could ever get.
And how does someone get involved? How does someone support post 9/11 veterans and those that they serve?
Excuse me. So you can go to post911veterans.org. And get all the information from us. But we do have volunteer opportunities all the time. We have a pretty packed board, but we are always looking for committee members. And they can just reach out to Lisa D at Lisa, L-I-S-A-D as in dog, at post911veterans.org. And I will be happy to direct them to whomever it is they need to speak to. We're fully volunteer, fully sweat equity. Any hand help we can get, we'll take it.
And what are the primary areas where you need support within the organization?
Money. We need. All of our board members are putting in the time and the effort, but we can't do what we do without having the support of our community. And we've had some sponsors just jump on board here really recently to help with the women's event, to help with some of our events, to sponsor some of our people. And that just means the world to us because, again, we don't take a penny. All of that money goes directly to the veterans.
And when you mention sponsorship of your veterans, what does that mean? What does the sponsorship entail?
Okay. So we have sponsors of specific events, or we are currently working on a new sponsorship program where you would become a platoon member. Okay. And depending on the amount of money that you donate monthly, you would get either, some post 9/11 swag, and you would get some recognition because, I think people don't, by and large, they don't do it for recognition, but it's always nice for people to know, hey, my neighbor did this or my friend did that. And so we want to bring them into our community by making them a part of the team, essentially.
And that sponsorship that someone, let's say like myself, decided to get involved with, who would it help? What would it help? What would it fund?
By and large, it goes directly to the veterans, but we do have capacity needs that we have. So, we have a website. We have insurance that we have to pay for. We do have, operational costs. But I would say 75, 80% of that goes directly to the veterans. So whether it's, a program for them, whether it's to fund those wishes that we're doing, whether it's to help them in home health and happiness in any of those pillars, that's where that money goes.
Also, tell us a little bit about one of the most touching, I guess, experiences that you've had so far supporting or working with the organization of having served a veteran or a veteran family, something that always kind of keeps everything in perspective for you and to continue to serve.
Wow, that's a great question. Over the years, we have just served so many veterans. I would say the best stories that I can remember are the Christmas stories, the holiday stories. When we help that veteran, like we don't give the presents to the veteran's family. Right. They do.
Right.
We want them to look like the hero. We want them to look like the rock star. And when they realize that they can do that for their family, and their family doesn't need to know these toys were donated or this money was donated, anytime we can make them look like the hero, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I would say those, or the other times are scholarships. When we've helped some veterans, they run out of their veteran scholarship and they need a little bridge to help them get through.
Scholarships for educational programming?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that. Tell me a little bit more specific things like that, like the scholarship program, the holiday program, to help support them to give gifts to family without looking like it's a handout and having dignity in making those gifts. It's wonderful to see that sort of your mission interconnects with what Metropolitan is doing, is allowing the people to have dignity at their most difficult moments. So tell me a little bit more about programs just like that I know our listeners would love to hear, that if they become a sponsor, they know it's going directly to those programs.
Absolutely. So the scholarships are rolled into the home health and happiness now. We found that veterans weren't always looking for scholarships, and they were looking for a myriad of things. I would say the programs that we have that benefit the veterans and make them look like they're not getting a handout. So when we do the toy drive, we partner with the VA, and the VA gets we get all the presents. We usually do it at the end, towards the end of the year, right before Christmas.
Wonderful.
And we drop all the toys off at the VA annex. The VA is the one who then distributes them. They're the ones who find the families who have need, and those people get their own. They pick it up. They give it to their families themselves. So it doesn't look like we're showing up with food or toys or whatever it is. They are showing up with it.
Excellent. Once again, dignity in the process.
Absolutely. And as far as the scholarships, it's been a little while since we've given away a scholarship, only because there hasn't been any requests. But for instance, the Wishes program.
Tell us a little bit more about the Wishes program.
That is something that, veterans, we found in the last few years it was kind of hard to give away money, surprisingly, because, again, they don't want to ask for anything. They don't want to look like they can't handle it.
It's not the core mission of the military. It's not the core mission of that breed of individual that is there to serve. So I get that.
Absolutely. So we kind of rolled that into this Wishes program, which is now going to be rolled into the platoons. And basically what it is, like a veteran could fill out an intake form on our website that says, I want to take my kids to Disney. I do need money for a bridge scholarship. I have medical concerns. I have whatever it might be, as long as it's in one of those three pillars. And as long as we have the funding from our sponsors, from our supporters, we will absolutely give. I mean, we don't keep that money for us.
Right. You want to use it.
We want to give it to the veterans who need it.
Question to you: what has been the biggest wish that you have funded in dollar amounts? It doesn't necessarily have to be the program that you tell us, but dollar amounts, just to kind of put it into perspective for the listening audience.
We've done tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship money.
Wonderful.
Tens of thousands of dollars, and been supported by organizations all across the board. And I think our biggest event that we're getting ready to do now is we're partnering with Love Your Bath. And we're still kind of, this might be an exclusive, but we're kind of.
Well, I love that you're sharing it with us.
We're trying to figure out how to, we're figuring out the meat of giving away a bathroom remodel for a disabled veteran once a quarter.
That would be life-changing.
Yeah. So we're in the beginning phases of that. We're still working out the details of the program, but we are partnering with them. And that's, I think, going to be a really big project.
Yeah, and life-changing if you have a veteran that needs adaptability. And to have an adaptable space, bathroom, kitchen, it is in the thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I worked heavily with our disabled community in my past life, and I know how hard it is to have access to those type of resources. So kudos to you for doing it for a very, very important community. We do have a question that I think kind of rolls into what we're talking about, which is related to cuts and things like that. We have David who writes, giving a little kudos for our show today, but also curious about what your guests, what you, Lisa, say about the recent chainsaw, literally cuts on the VA budget. The VA has always been underfunded, as we all know, and I think this is shameful. David says Trump has proven that he has little to no respect for veterans, and he is demonstrating that now with his reckless rhetoric and dangerous actions. David, Mr. White Pet Brian. Thank you, David, for the great question. What are your thoughts on these literal chainsaw cuts to the VA that was already underfunded? And potentially making your mission harder.
Yeah. Again, we're not a political organization, so I don't want to take a line like that, but I can tell you that anything that takes money away from veterans is impacting our ability to serve more veterans as well. And so we want to do whatever it is, like whether it's that we're filling that new gap that's going to exist now. I'm going to see that probably being a bigger issue.
Yes.
We rely on the generosity of sponsors and supporters. And this is going to make it harder, I think, for us to be able to fulfill our mission on a
broader scale.
Yeah. I think it's going to make it a lot more difficult for us. We're already seeing now that people are not giving money as much as they used to. There are so many organizations who rightfully need the money. So what we are trying to do is, we can't offer everything.
Right.
So what we try to do is, because we do have a widespread connection network, if we don't do something, then we might send them, hey, we know these guys do. Let us connect you with that, because we never want to say no to someone without being able to give them some other direction or some other avenue to pursue what they need.
Yeah. Have you ever had to make that decision as a board? And having to say no, I know is tough, knowing the population that you're serving. Have you been able to redirect them for services and have those services met?
I would say that we have been able to redirect them. We don't always know what happens. Sometimes they fall off the face of the earth and we don't hear, but we have been able to redirect them for sure, because we have so many. We have a resources coordinator who we just brought on the board, who is working on getting as many names, as many resources, as many things as we can, so that if it's something we don't do, we can send them. But I will tell you, an area that we just don't go into is the mental health area. We aren't equipped for that.
Right.
We're not doctors. We're not mental health experts. We wouldn't want to put our even little toe in there because it's just not something we're equipped to do.
No, it's a special class of individual that works with our mental health population that is a veteran that has gone through war or is dealing with other demons related to their experience, both in their personal life as well as their military life. And sadly, as David was talking, some of those chainsaw cuts are already impacting the VA with the loss of thousands of jobs, not just locally, but nationally. Now, tell me, Lisa, how do we support you? How do we get involved? And how does the community access your service? I know I streamrolled 3 questions there, but I know you're able to give me an answer for that.
So the easiest way to reach out to us is go to our website, post911veterans.org. That's the numbers 911 veterans, post911veterans.org. You can always reach out to us there. We have all of our services are on there. Now we're in the middle of doing like I said, a revamp, a rebrand. So you're going to see it be a lot more user-friendly.
Wonderful.
And a lot more robust.
Wonderful.
But we're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. They can follow us there. We always need volunteers. We always need more money. And quite frankly, want people who, if they know veterans who are in need, send them our way, because
Yes.
we want to be in front of them as well.
Excellent. Question for you. Can the veteran family member reach out to the organization? Because
Yes.
sometimes the veteran doesn't want to, because
Yes.
once again, the dignity, shame
Absolutely.
associated with asking for help, which is not in their DNA. Can family do that?
Yes, absolutely. Listen,
Wonderful.
we don't care how we find them.
We just
as
want to
long as
find
we
them.
find them. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you today for coming out and talking to us about Post 9/11 Veterans, a wonderful organization doing the hard work, connecting with our community at the grassroots level, which is the hardest, and also where you find our most vulnerable community. So I want to thank you for the time, and I hope everyone that is listening makes a donation, shows up, and support this community, because we are seeing the cuts locally and nationally that will impact ongoing services. And thank you to the listening audience. Thank you for the opportunity to host today's show, and sub for Sean, who will be back next week. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.
This is WMNF Tampa.